we can see the increased drug abuser, increased the alcoholic, increased the homeless, increased the suicide, increase of the teenage drug abuser. And what people actually think about, like, focus on, so it's Trump.
I love it. He's a master troller. All the liberals in Canada that hate Trump now are going to be turned off by Carney because Trump likes him.
Like I said, I'm much more of a Pierre fan, so freedom is more of a concern for me than having own nothing and be happy.
It's all lies.
What is lies on this?
That he was with Epstein and Maxwell.
But you have a picture of them together. It's not him. You're saying to me it doesn't like him at all.
No, the face is shorter, the chin is longer. No.
It's official! Canada's federal election is on the way, with voters heading to the polls on April 28. Rebel News is not sitting this one out. Ezra Levin has registered a third-party campaign with Elections Canada, separate from Rebel News, to run a massive campaign exposing Mark Carney's record. You can chip in at forcanada.ca if you want to support this initiative. Something the mainstream media refuses to do. They won't bite the hand that feeds them. Today we are in Ottawa with our billboard truck talking to people on the ground. So who is Mark Carney? A globalist elitist with 3 passports who once called himself European, just like he recently did with Canada.
With you, Mr. President, I want to ensure that France and the whole of Europe works enthusiastically with Canada, the most European of non-European countries.
When Donald Trump announced tariffs on Canada, Carney was involved in the decision to move Brookfield Asset Management headquarters from Toronto to New York, and then lied about it on live TV. He made millions from pipeline projects while backing policies that shut Canada's pipeline down. He champions net zero and carbon taxes, but in reality, it's everyday Canadian who will foot the bill. And why won't Carney disclose his ties to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice? And why he is hiding his financial assets? He repeatedly called the police to block independent journalists. And on Sunday in Newfoundland, authorities were brought in to silence fishermen. Is this democracy? That's why we called him Sneaky Carney, because he knows exactly how to cover his tract. But we won't let him. Let's check it out. What do you think of Mark Carney launching at the election?
I think he's smarter than Pierre Polyev. Yeah, and I pretty much like him. So, but I'm not really into politics. So,
what are your thoughts on the election launch?
I didn't even know there's one going on.
Yeah, we just launched it on Sunday, the federal election.
I didn't even know about it.
First, I thought it was like Pierre Polyev was guaranteed to win, but since then, I'm not really sure what's happening. It's like there's been a changing tide with Mark Carney. I don't know.
I don't know who I'm going to vote for.
It's not soon enough. Pierre would be my guy.
Calling a snap election is definitely a strategic move right now, for sure.
Well, I think it's good that he at least acknowledges that Canadians should have a choice. I think that's a good thing.
Last time I voted for Stephen Harper when he was Prime Minister for Conservative, but I haven't been following politics, so I'm sorry.
It's a tough time for Canadians right now because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of attack campaigns, honestly on both sides going on. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I think it's honestly cheesy because I feel like to win an election, you got to give people facts, you got to give them knowledge. You have to give them reasons to vote for you, not reasons not to vote for the other guy. So I'm just honestly waiting to hear, strategies, campaigning, talking points, kind of what's coming from both sides. I'm pretty on the fence right now, so.
Je suis dans ma 87e année.
Oh, félicitations.
Et je n'ai pas encore voté une seule fois. Ceux qui votent pour les conservateurs et pas pour les libéraux pensent que les conservateurs feront mieux que les libéraux, ou l'inverse si on est pro-libéral, à propos de ce que vous venez de dire pour nos petits-enfants. Vous croyez que vraiment, il y a une grosse différence pour l'avenir de nos petits-enfants, de l'un à l'autre de ces chefs?
Ben, Monsieur Trudeau a presque doublé, ben, en fait, il a doublé la dette, donc ça a fait vraiment un gros changement dans l'avenir, en fait, de notre future génération.
Il a doublé la dette. Moi, je pense que la dette, ça n'a aucune importance.
I suspect that the Liberals will form a majority.
So I'm not Canadian citizen, first of all. I'm from Korea. But I've been here 11 years, almost going to be 12 years. So I assume myself as Canadian more likely than Korean. But this government, I don't know, past 9 years, let me ask whole Canadian, any something good happen? We can see the increased drug abuser, increase the alcoholic, increase the homeless, increase the suicide, increase of the teenage drug abuser. And what people actually think about, like, focus on, so it's Trump. Oh, he attacking us. Oh, he attacking us.
Because he's been on the World Economic Forum multiple times at multiple years.
So what?
But
so what?
So you don't mind that he's going to?
It's garbage. It's not. It's a lie.
So we know that Mark Carney have attended to the World Economic Forum many times every year. Do that concern you a little bit or worry you to see him being as close as that to the World Economic Forum?
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the WEF. I would say that is worrisome, but also there's a lot of good things that come from somebody outside of politics coming in. I do think we do need somebody who's seasoned in the ways of dealing with world leaders, political leaders, economic leaders, who's dealt with the big banks, who's dealt with private, public, small business. I think there's a lot good to come from that, but there is also a lot of worry to come from somebody who might have personal interests or might have things to gain from coming from those types of spaces around those types of people.
Well, I'm not too informed about it, so I don't know.
I don't think it's the direction that we need to be going. Like I said, I'm much more of a Pierre fan, so freedom is more of a concern for me than having own nothing and be happy type of candidate.
I don't know enough about it, but I think I'm looking forward to the debates because that might explain something. So
that he is not focused on issues that affect Canadians, but issues that relate to what the Economic Forum wants, which is clearly, what is it, like the climate change, the climate change, you know, I think probably transgenderism will probably be into much greater focus with Mark Carney as a prime minister, and moving the focus away from making deals with Trump, making deals with our allies to the south, and focusing on Europe. I don't think that's a good decision.
The whole theory behind globalism is that countries will work together, and I'm for that. Okay? I think that the different structures we put in place to achieve that are perhaps imperfect and need to be worked on, and I totally agree with that. But I think that throwing out sort of any of the globalist structures, I think is short-sighted. I think they can be improved, but I think that sort of the increasing sort of tribalism that's going on in certain countries is a negative that I think that we have to work on as a society. And that I'm not anti-globalist. I think that shutting down and putting up barriers between countries is not a good thing. So those are the things I'm more concerned about right now.
So Mark Carney's dream of Canada is like he wants Canada to be the net zero emission. Do you agree with that?
Oh, of course, but again, the execution is just as important as the plan.
No, I don't believe in that. I think we should be using our resources, and over here, I mean, our energy is a lot better than in countries like Saudi Arabia. Or
with the work that he did with the COP26 and his work around climate with the financial institutions, I don't necessarily think that's part of his running platform now, because that's not necessarily what Canada needs.
That's ridiculous, ludicrous. We are carbon-based life forms. We are made of carbon. Carbon is the stuff of life. That is pure evil as far as I'm concerned, and it would destroy our economy. Anybody that falls for that's an idiot.
Obviously, I'd love to have net zero emissions, but such a pivotal part of Canada's economy is the oil. And, you know, what does that really mean if we get rid of that entire economy? Especially, it's easy to say here in Ottawa when we get our oil from or not our oil, but our energy from more natural sources. But of course, are we just going to ignore everyone in the prairies? You know, they have economies too. People live there too. I'm all for any sort of alternatives, but I just need to make sure they're there, right? You know, what are we going to do? Are we going to do solar? Are we going to replace them with wind farms? I don't know. And so until I see something, you know, convincing, you know, it's just a dream.
If we want to maintain a certain level of economic vitality in this country, we have to select really projects that are helpful to sort of building economic opportunity for Canadians. On the other hand, I think that the environmental situation is something that I do want to see action on.
I think that would be good. Yeah, if we can move towards not using, you know, carbon fuels or whatever, that'd be good.
The Liberal Party is going to win now in the next election, most likely. And they were down and out. Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for
conservative.
China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal, actually, with a liberal.
How did you react hearing Trump saying that he preferred to deal with the liberals than the conservative?
I hadn't heard that yet, but it doesn't surprise me. It's easier to deal with liberals from the American side. They're going to have a better time with liberals than with our conservatives here.
You know, Trump, I think he knows that if the liberals are in there, then his position is going to be even better because they're going to engage upon these policies that destroy the country, and Canadians are going to eventually wake up and say, look at this shining city on the hill just to the south of us. They're doing amazing. Give it a little bit of time, obviously.
I don't listen to anything Trump says. Okay. I don't take anything he says seriously.
It could be one way. They could see it as a way to sort of shepherd people towards the right, because a lot of Canadians are not in favor of Donald Trump right now. So it's like anything that he says. But on the other end, I also think that, you know, Mark Carney's been around in the banking world, in the economic world for a long time. And I'm definitely sure that he's met Donald Trump more than a few times. They're both very wealthy and powerful individuals. So it's hard to say.
I mean, he's kind of a talker, so I don't really take much stock in what he has to say. I think that, unfortunately, it does change the way the winds blow a little bit, but I don't know whether that's intentional or not.
I love it. He's a master troller. All the liberals in Canada that hate Trump now are going to be turned off by Carney because Trump likes him. But Trump doesn't really like him. He just knows he's easier to push around than Pierre Poilievre.
I think like foreign meddling is always a problem, and I do think that is definitely, I don't know, just kind of political bullshit, if you will.
Trump said that?
Yeah.
Really? Well, it could mean different things. I mean, on the one hand, maybe it's to their advantage. Maybe it means that the liberals are more pushovers than the conservatives. I'm not really sure. I would have expected he would have preferred interacting with the conservatives, conservative government. So.
Do you think he's a trick?
It easily could be. He's a clever, persuasive individual. Like, I think it's an error to think that the guy's a dunce. Like, clearly he knows what he's doing. He's just a smooth operator. He knows what to say, what not to say. So
maybe he said it's better because in his perspective that they are easier.
It's hard to believe anything that Donald Trump says. So I think that trying to figure out exactly what he means by that, I think it's up for grabs, and I don't know any of these. But I think that we have to make our choices within the country with the information we have on the candidates we have.
I don't listen to that guy, man. Everybody's known he's crazy for a long time. I'm staying out of it.
What is your thought of Mark Carney?
I think he seems to be very liked right now, and I don't think it's the direction that we should be going.
Yeah, I like him, but then I would never have voted for Trudeau because of this Islamophobia sour that he name there.
I thought it was disgraceful what he's done. He locked 150 fishermen out of his first rally. Then he called them fish harvesters and said he was there to listen. Well, how can you listen when you got cops guarding locked doors? The man identifies as a European. He's not a Canadian as far as I'm concerned, and he disgusts me.
Well, I don't like Trudeau. Maybe I don't like Mr. What's his name again?
Mark Carney.
From an economical perspective, he's qualified, but I'm not certain I agree with his rise to power in the Liberal Party.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank
issues,
you so much.
Well, it may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters. It matters, and this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is a fundamental. You're finally getting to a point.
You've exceeded
that
the
is
time.
relevant to this committee's inquiry.
What you're saying is you oppose pipelines in Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
But with that dream that is zero net emission, do you believe him when he say that he will build new energy project as kind of pipeline or something like that?
Hopefully. I don't know.
Do you think they go together?
It could possibly. It could contradict itself, or it could play out and work in everyone's favor.
Yes, I think with the Global Financial Alliance, they've changed their position recently to be much more about providing financial institutions with a framework for transitioning to more clean energy sources. It's not necessarily an agenda that Mark Carney is currently pushing for Canada.
So building our own infrastructure for energy, that kind of a thing? It seems kind of far-fetched.
As long as it's not an investment in fossil fuels.
I don't think it's necessarily a contradiction, because wanting to get to net zero emissions, it's a challenging goal. And along the way, he's also said he supports, a two-track energy economy, basically, fossil fuels based and renewable energy. And that's a trend around the world. Now, can I have a question for you? Do you consider yourself a truly independent, nonpartisan journalist?
I mean, I don't know, politicians say one thing to get elected and then do what other companies want them to do and stuff like that. It's a tough job. I wouldn't want to do it, It looks hard, so I don't want it.
Mark Carney has some picture circulating from 2013 of a music festival where he took a picture with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think he should maybe disclose the relationship he has with her?
I mean, again, I don't really think I know enough about the situation to say. I mean, obviously Epstein's a monster, but I don't know that necessarily ties Carney to all of that. And I think that, again, I just don't know the situation well enough to say.
Think about
lies. It's all lies.
What is lies on this?
That he was with Epstein and Maxwell.
But you have a picture of them together.
That's not even him. It doesn't even look like him.
It's him. You don't find that on the picture.
I'm sorry. I used to be a journalist, and I'm not buying it.
It's not him. You're saying to me it doesn't like him at all.
No, the face is shorter, the chin is longer. No.
So what do you think it is, that picture?
Some other guy. It's just some other guy.
No, and because Mark Carney actually said that he's him, and this is his wife, and
they used to live down the street from me, okay? I know them well. That's BS. It's all BS. Somebody makes it up, and then they put it on the side of a truck, and people will believe it the same way they believe
it's a real
Trump.
Picture. It's a real picture.
Who says?
Because nobody's talking about it.
Because there's nothing to talk about.
But The fact
Do
that
your
they
research,
are
honey.
here.
He's part of the deep state, the cabal. He is not a good man, and I think he is the worst thing possible for Canada.
Not saying anything, I would imagine, is probably not a really smart thing to do. But I mean, it depends if people are paying attention to it or not. I didn't even know about it, so.
Yeah, I think from a visibility perspective, anything he can do to be as transparent as possible will only benefit him right now.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, private relationships want to stay private if it's your relationship. But at the end of the line, it's just too important. You can't, if you're hiding something, of course everyone's going to ask questions and want to know the truth.
Because it could be totally harmless, you know? You run into people, you take photos, like things like that happen. But if it is innocent, you just say it.
Yeah, absolutely, because anything dirty is going to come to light in time. So the longer he waits, then the worse it might be for him.
We will expose Mark Carney and we will show you the truth about this man because the mainstream refused to do so. You can see all our report and the information about Mark Carney at thecarneyfiles.com. Go ahead, check it out, and thanks in advance to supporting our journalism.